Hey y'all, it's your girl, Dr. J, back with another episode of Let It Flow with Dr. J. And God has me in this place of talking to his people who are struggling, those who are fighting some very difficult battles that they don't know how they're going to win, the ones who have been praying and trying their hardest to hold on to faith, but things don't seem to be getting better. His people who are tired, who are frustrated, who are hurting, who are desperate for a breakthrough. The ones who have been holding on to hope for so long that they feel their hope is fading. The ones who do not see how they will ever overcome or get out of the situations that they're in. They've been looking for that silver lining. They've been looking for that joy that's supposed to come in the morning. They've been looking for the ways that God said he would make for them, but it doesn't seem like anything is happening. Nothing is moving. These are the people God is asking me to talk to. The ones who are in the midst of battles that they are trying their hardest to fight, but everything is telling them that they won't win. The situation won't change, and they must give up because you know what? Things won't turn around for them anyway. But I stopped by to tell you that you must keep praying until your breakthrough comes, and then you must keep praying beyond that point. You must keep the faith in God, knowing that nothing is impossible for Him. Nothing that you could ever go through is too hard or too big for Him to handle. There is no situation that is too complicated or too messy for Him to get you through. It may seem like the battle is too great for you to fight, and the circumstances may be telling you that you are not built for this. The enemy is too great. The enemy is too powerful. The enemy has too many resources, or the enemy has too many people on his side. So you might as well give up. You might as well tuck your tail between your legs and give into what you're going through because you can't possibly win. But all of that is a lie. What we often forget is that God is mighty in battle. God sees our weaknesses. He sees where we are. He understands how we feel, and He knows how to get us through the battles that we face. God does not sleep nor slumber. He don't take naps, y'all. He does not take PTO so he can rest up for all of the battles his people face or to be rejuvenated enough to be ready for what we're going through. He doesn't call in sick. He doesn't have a bad memory that makes him forget who we are, the prayers that we have prayed, the tears that we have cried, or the moments where we feel that all hope is lost. He doesn't have a calendar that he has to refer back to remember his people, or even a little address book with phone numbers that he has to use to remember where we are or what we stand in need of. God knows all, he sees all, and he hears all. We have to keep the faith and know that God understands and he will rescue us in our time of need. And you may be saying, well, I've been in need for a long time. God has not shown up. I've been working hard. I've been being my best, doing my best, and God hasn't rescued me yet. He's forgotten all about me, and He has allowed me to suffer for so long. And this is why I'm weak. This is why I feel defeated. This is why my hope is failing. This is why I am giving up or have given up on God. I don't see what he's doing for me or how he's working out the situation that I'm dealing with in my life. He definitely hasn't kept his promises to me. So why should I keep praying, believing, hoping, and having faith in God and a God that doesn't see, hear, or answer me? And the truth of the matter is, I've been where you are more times than I can count. In fact, there are moments where I still get into a space of feeling like God has forgotten about me, that he doesn't hear me. A space where I feel like I'm doing everything that I possibly can, including pray, but I don't see how God is moving or what he's doing in my life. I've had those moments in the past 2 weeks, actually, because with my eyes, I'm looking around and I'm wondering why God hasn't moved yet. Why hasn't he answered my prayers or shown up for me in a way that he said he would? Like, where is he? I'm looking at my calendar and time is like of the essence to me. I feel like it's running out, but God still hasn't moved. But then God brought me back to the book of Joshua. In chapter 1, God told Joshua that Moses was dead and that it was basically Joshua's time to lead his people. He told Joshua that every place that the sole of his foot would tread upon has been given to him, and that no man shall be able to stand before him all the days of his life. Not some days, not Mondays, all the days of his life. He said, as he was with Moses, he will be with Joshua. But he also instructed him to keep his law, to meditate on his word day and night. And multiple times he commanded him to be strong, to be of good courage, to not be afraid or dismayed, because he was with him wherever he went. That includes the corner store, y'all. Fast forward to chapter 6, God told Joshua that the city of Jericho was securely shut up, but he also told him that he has given Jericho into his hands. Now, the thing about Joshua was he was obedient. He heard what God said, and he did all that God asked him to do. God gave him specific instructions from the beginning, and Joshua had to do what God asked him to do and walk in what God asked him to walk in. And not to go too deep into this for time purposes, but Joshua kept the faith. He kept believing. He kept God's commands, and he was obedient to all that God asked him to do. Now, I'm sure Joshua knew deep down inside that what he was up against seemed impossible in his own strength. He probably felt that the enemy was too great, too powerful, had too many resources, they were stronger, and he was not equipped, nor were the people with him equipped for this type of situation or battle. Joshua could have given up. He could have said, God, now you know good and well, I'm not built for this. I'm not Moses. I'm not any other folks that came before me. And the people I have with me, you know they be tripping, God. They might flip out on me like they did Moses when they were walking around feeling lost and like he should have left them in Egypt with the devil that they knew instead of taking them into the wilderness. Joshua probably had all kinds of thoughts swirling around his head that made him think that he wouldn't see a breakthrough in this situation. But instead of choosing defeat, instead of giving up on God, instead of walking away and throwing in the towel and walking in fear, Joshua kept moving. He remembered God's promises. He followed God's commands. He kept God's law. And he was obedient to all, not some things, not a portion of things, not 95% of the things, but to all that God asked him to do. He couldn't physically see what was on the other side of the wall or even hear the thoughts of the fear the enemy had knowing that God was with the Israelites, but he kept moving forward and he trusted that God would do what he said he would do. This is where we mess up a lot of times. We hear what God says, yet we allow our circumstances to tell us that it's impossible. We allow what we can physically see with our own eyes discourage us from moving forward and following what God has instructed us to do. Sometimes we stop praying, we stop believing, we stop holding on to hope, and we start believing that God has gone deaf to our ears, our prayers, and our cries. And we give up. We let what we see and what we feel drive us and keep us in a space of bondage and defeat because we give up on the one who is faithful in all things and the one whose word does not return to him void. Imagine if Joshua would have given up. Imagine if he told God, no, not your boy. I'm going back to the house or where we came from because this is too much. This battle is too great. I ain't built for this right here. No, not me. Imagine what would have happened if Joshua stopped believing and he didn't instruct God's people to keep moving forward despite the uncertainty, despite any of the things that they were feeling inside and what they could not see. Just imagine. This is why we have to remember who God is, what he has spoken to us and over us, and his promises of never leaving nor forsaking us. We must remember that our breakthrough is coming, and sometimes that breakthrough is right on the other side of our fervent prayers, our unwavering faith, our discomfort, because Lord knows we feel discomfort at times, especially in our stretching and growing season, in our purging seasons, and our obedience to God. Remember that God will tell us what he needs us to do and what he wants from us. We just have to open our hearts, our minds, and our ears to hear what he says. And we must know that he doesn't tell us everything we need to know or what we think we need to know. Because sometimes we need to see the blueprint. We need to see the plans. We need to see the full movie. We need to see the credits, everything, not just the trailer. We need everything before we act, before we move, before we do. But we have to keep in mind that God gives us step-by-step instructions. And these are instructions that we must be obedient to, regardless of what we don't see or hear, and regardless of some of those feelings that may come up in us inside at times that really just makes us feel like, who can I really do this? Can I really get through this? Because God is always at work in our lives, even when he feels distant from us. He's always there, and he keeps his promises. And just like the walls of Jericho came down for Joshua and the Israelites, the walls in your life and your situations can come down for you. I hope that this word blesses you and it meets you at your point of need. And just remember to keep praying without ceasing, keep trusting, keep believing, and keep moving forward in obedience to all that God has asked you to do, even when it seems impossible, unchanging, and like it doesn't make sense. Sometimes things feel illogical when you're moving with God. But keep the faith and trust that he has you in the palm of his hands and he's already worked it out. No matter what it is, he's already worked it out. I've dropped some scriptures for you guys to meditate on in the description. And as always, it's your girl, Dr. J. Peace and love and happy holidays, y'all.